New frontman, pretty much same old fire, with this new question. Not who knew what and when did they know it at the IRS. More like how many knew what and why the heck did it take this long to admit it at the IRS. Man, I'm confused. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and he is the new IRS chief. But congressional investigators far more interested in, 88 IRS Indians. The number of agents, we are told now, were targeting conservative groups for years. Tom Zastowski's Ohio Liberty Coalition was one of those groups. And Tom, you always wondered how two rogue agents could pull this off. Apparently, those agents had some help, a lot of help. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Neil, it was pretty obvious from the beginning that this was much bigger than the Cincinnati office. And I think we're going to see in some of the congressional hearings coming up that there were other offices involved. But there's definitely a path from the top down. This was not a bottom-up operation.
You know, it's interesting when that many agents are involved, and I've had other legal scholars say when it comes to, IRS cases where they go after a large number of groups claiming or filing for tax-exempt status, this is not unusual. What is unusual, and you were at the receiving end of this, to make sure they are all of the same political stripe. That is what's unusual, and that is what's offensive, right?
Well, it is offensive, and again, I still think that they're barking up the wrong tree. There's a lot of people on the left, including the New York Times, that are trying to provide cover. Here it is. We said the IRS was wrong when we saw these questions. The IRS has now admitted that those questions were wrong and inappropriate. And then you have the New York Times running stories, saying that, well, those questions really were appropriate because it's so unclear what's political activity or not. That's just factually not true.
All right, and if that is going to be your strategy or your modus operandi to go after these sort of exemptions, then go after them for everybody, left groups included, Media Matters included. That did not happen. So where do you think this goes now? The idea that this was a far bigger swath of agents involved and targeting now, we're told, more than just groups like your own to individuals like yourself. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, the American people should be outraged. I mean, this is absolutely an abuse of government power, and that's where this fundamentally starts. Now, where it goes from this, that's going to be up for Congress and the Senate to find out, and I think, that's the important job that Congress must do. I think, Neil, there's a real question here, for Congress about separation of power. I'm quite frankly appalled at the contempt that some of the members of the administration have shown towards Congress, and even in this last report that the Senate asked for, that the deadline was Friday, and they didn't get it. I think we got a real big problem here.
The irony there, and I'm no lawyer, Tom, but they're claiming that is the IRS on the count of privacy laws that you don't want to do. The same agency that, whether deliberately or not, sort of just plowed all over privacy rights of those groups and individuals involved is now using that as a defense to not hand over information.
Well, I thought that was one of the funniest things, if there is any humor in this tragedy, was that's what they told Justin Binnick Thomas. The one individual was actually named in an IRS letter. When he inquired why he was named, they told him for privacy reasons they couldn't tell him why he was named.
Yeah, your privacy's been invaded, but you don't have any right to know who invaded it.
Yeah.
Finally, I want to leave you on the only apology that has been demanded thus far has been Robert Gibbs calling for Darrell Issa to apologize for essentially calling Jake Carney a paid liar. What did you make of that?
Jake Carney has about as much credibility today as Baghdad Bob had at the end of the first Iraq War. When the tanks were going on behind him, he said there's no tanks there. Listen, the American people demand the truth from our president.
But
Jake
do you think
Carney's
that's overreach to say something like that, that it's sort of, it does sort of poison the atmosphere a little bit, that this looks overly opportunistic, overly political?
But the facts are the facts, Neil.
Yeah.
Listen, it's real simple. We want the truth. Where I live in flyover country, the truth means what actually happened. So why does Jay Carney come out every day, whether it be Fast and Furious, the Benghazi, right, IRS, or anything, with all these political talking points that factually turn out to be false? Where I live, that's called lying.
And no one has apologized to you, have they?
No, there's been, Miss Lerner did say that she apologized to all the Tea Party people. So
she said, I regret.
I know that was so sincere. That was very sincere too, Neil.
All right, now behave, young man. Tom, thank you very, very much. Boy, the hell you've had to deal with Tom Zastowski, but he gives back what they throw at him every time.